Hey, it's Ridiculous Reviewer, or Emily, depending on what you prefer to call me. And I'm here today with my very first book review. I am reviewing the Quartet series called Pixies by Carrie Jones. I read this on my e-reader, if you can see that. And like I said in my February TBR, I had read the first book in junior high or middle school, and I remembered the gold dust that you saw on the cover, and I was like, what was that book? So I decided to find it and reread it, and I did. I think I only gave it a 3 or maybe a generous 4 on Goodreads out of 5. It was alright. The battle scenes really captivated me. The characters were lousy. All they did were go back and forth on their opinions, so I didn't really appreciate that. I was like, what is he about again? Did he change his mind yet? What? Ugh. So it's about this girl named Zara who lives with her mom and her stepdad in North Carolina until her stepdad dies. Then she moves to live with her grandmother in Maine to stay safe. She's finding this gold glittery dust everywhere she goes, and it turns out that this man is stalking her. This man turns out to be Pixie. Yeah. Oops. There's pixies, there's all sorts of creatures, there's weres, there's obviously a werewolf, there's a were-eagle, a were-tiger, and a were-bear. So I thought that was pretty cool. I never really thought that there would be other weres, weres as a species. So that was interesting. A lot of the mythology was really cool. A lot of the, there was a lot of Norse mythology. So there was Valhalla, Loki, Fenrir, if I said that right, that Rainbow Road Bridge. Yeah. So that was all really cool. Like I said, the worst part was it could be very slow and boring. Listening to Zara's thoughts was kind of sometimes oh, get over it. It felt like she was just irritating sometimes. She definitely wasn't the worst character. I think the worst character was her boyfriend Nick, because he flip-flopped on everything he said. He was so annoying. He was like, I hate the Pixies. I'm a werewolf and I hate the Pixies. Rah! And then he would be like, okay, Pixies are okay, I guess. And then he'd be like, no, I hate the Pixies. And it was like, make up your mind. And then there was Devin, who was a pretty okay character. It didn't really focus on him at all. He started out wheelchair-bound, and by the end of the book, he's not in a wheelchair anymore, so I thought that was just something cool that he overcame. It was nice to read. There was a girl named Cassidy who wasn't in it much, but I think if she were in it more, I would have liked her. Then there was a man named Astley who was so cool. There was just really lame male characters. All the female characters were really cool, and the male characters were blah. So Astley was a nice change from all the really blah characters. He was a pixie, but he was a good pixie, and he was so true to every point he made. I think he came in the second book, which would be Captivate. So he came in Captivate, and all the way through to the last book, Endure, he had the same thoughts and same views on everything. And I was like, that's so refreshing compared to everyone else. It's so nice. Where Nick was just driving me up a wall. He was too macho. He was like, Zara, I'll protect you. And it was like, she doesn't really need protecting. And Zara would be like, you're so macho. And it's that whole self-awareness was kind of really annoying. It was like, well, why don't you change then? If everyone's telling you you're being annoying, why don't you try to be less annoying? But my favorite character in this series was Izzy. She was perfect. She was fully human the entire time. She had no pixie powers, no were powers, full on human. Oh, there was a little bit of elf in there too. She was no elf, full human, wasn't even that coordinated, but she was just rad all the way through, just totally kick-ass. She had her opinions, she didn't veer from them at all, which was like so refreshing, and she was a little bit of a feminist, and it was so cute. She was like, I'm gonna walk away now before I get into this feminist rant, and I was like, Izzy, I love you, you're so cute. Honestly, she was my favorite character, not even the main character, so that was like, it was good. It was kind of weird though to like not love the main character. Sarah's mom, Jesus, Zara, her mother was so bad. I wanted her to die. Like, I was like, just kill off the character. She is awful. She supposedly sends Zara to Maine to be safe, and then once she realizes that Zara isn't safe, she's like, maybe you should come home. And then Zara's like, no, I have an obligation to my friends. I have to keep them safe. I have to stay. And I think Sarah's mom was like, okay, and continued to stay in North Carolina while her daughter was basically fighting evil pixies in Maine. And then finally, Zara's mother, I don't even know her name, Zara's mom, moves to Maine, and they help take down the evil pixies together, who is actually the evil king pixie who's stalking her is her stepfather. And so they beat them, they trap them in a house. And I could not stop laughing at this image, because what they do is they tape, because they're afraid of iron, and I think it's just iron. So they tape like forks and spoons and knives to the windows, and I was like, just picture this house with silverware taped onto the windows. That has to be hilarious. So that's what I was laughing at when I was reading it. Like, the action, the battle parts were really good, and I was enthralled in the battle parts, but getting through the rest of the books, I was kind of slogging through them. So if you have nothing else to read, read the Neat Pixies series by Carrie Jones. But if you have something better to read, read something better. So her mom comes and she's like, oh, I'm gonna quit my job. I'm gonna stay up here with you. I can't believe I almost lost you to this evil pixie. I love you. We're gonna be a family. And then in the books after, Astley kisses Zara to make her his queen and a pixie. And her mother is so enraged, she doesn't speak to her, she doesn't, like, talk to her. Oh, I just said that. She can't even look at her daughter. And I was like, lady, you're not even home. You're working across the world. Like, you're not even in Maine to, like, tell your daughter to be careful when dealing with pixies, and now you don't love her anymore. Like, that was absurd to me, just absurd. It drove me insane, probably because I have such a good relationship with my mom that I was like, why are you being so awful to your kid? I couldn't wrap my head around it. It made no logical sense to me. I don't think anybody's mother could have been like that, especially because you think of Zara's life before she moved to Maine, and supposedly her and her mom and her stepfather were all this really, really happy family. And I was like, so why is she being such an ass? I couldn't get it. I could not wrap my head around it. And the grandmother was pretty cool for, a grandmother and being a pretty main character, except in the last book, she turns into her were self and runs away for like months on an end. And I was like, not even months. That was another thing that bothered me. All 4 books were set over like 1 month or like 2 or 3 weeks. So like the first book was like a week. Probably each book in itself was a week, and it was like, how is this happening so fast? Doesn't this need time to like pick up? But I guess not. So this grandmother runs away for like weeks, and it was like, You just abandoned your granddaughter. You were like her only protection, and you abandoned her. So it was really weird. The stepfather, who was the Pixie King that they trapped in the first book, he escaped, and he was really weird because he was all like lost under his need. Like, he needed to get a queen to rein in his minions, and without it he was capturing young boys and like draining them of their energy. But then when he escapes and Astley's like, I have to defeat your father because he's like creating terror in our pixie world, then after they kind of sort that out, the stepfather's like, oh, I like you. I mean, I let your mom go. I let you go. I could have captured you, but I let you go. So I'm a pretty decent guy. Like, I know I wasn't there for you your entire life, but I'm a pretty decent fellow. Yep. And then he sacrifices himself for Zara and Astley, and I was like, because you have to understand it was set over like a couple of weeks. So I was like, 3 weeks ago you were ready to kill Zara and her mom, and now you're like willing to die for them. I just couldn't understand the character changes that happened so quickly. It just drove me insane. I was like, you don't change your mind that quickly unless something like some sort of travesty happens. And I didn't feel that like something that traumatic happened for enough to be like have some sort of change. That's why Nick pissed me off so much, because he was constantly going back and forth between I like Pixies and I hate Pixies. I like Pixies and I hate Pixies. And it was like, well, make up your mind, because you're fighting with Pixies against evil Pixies, so you have to figure out where your alliance is. You can't make your own single team over here, like, party of one, I hate all Pixies, and I'm gonna fight the good Pixies and the bad Pixies all at the same time. Like, you can't do that, so you have to... They had no conviction. And for me, I love characters with conviction, whether they're good or bad. Like, if you make the wrong choice and you're essentially like an evil character, I don't care. Stick with it, have conviction, and I'm gonna love you as a character. You know, if you're weak and you're wishy-washy, it drives me insane. And especially when I'm reading, because the authors, they have control of these characters and they choose to make them irritating. Drives me insane. So that was the Need Pixies Quartet review, and this was my first book review, so I think I did okay. I mean, I didn't like it that much, so I didn't have a whole lot to say. So I'm sure my other book reviews will be probably less ranty and complainy, so stick with it, and I will be back at you pretty soon with a book haul. Spoiler. Bye all. It's my mom calling. So this happened while getting ready for the video. Just thought you may want to know. Just the struggles.